All right, everybody. This is Team Overbyte on Overwatch for our next episode of Overbyte Talks. Hilo is going to take the reins for this one. Hilo, why don't you explain
Alright,
what you're
gang.
doing?
So today I just wanted to discuss whether we can justify dropping the atomic bombs in Japan or whether it was immoral. So my opinion on this is a complicated one. I think that it was definitely immoral for the US to drop the bombs on Japan. However, we did it during a time of war, which we could use that as an excuse to justify our actions. Um, if I was president at the time, I would have definitely made the same call just to protect my people, but
I will protect the
you know, the
innocent.
effects that it had on Japan like years after was so drastic. I don't know if like they can ever really fully recover from that. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's an interesting topic.
So
Anybody
what?
have any
So
thoughts on it?
what would be your first question?
I guess, do you think we could justify our actions 100%, or like, do you think there was another way we could have handled the situation?
Well, I think ethicalness and morality is a very culture-based idea, number one. And what may be ethical or moral for one society may not be ethical or moral to another. So perhaps by today's standards, yes, dropping the nuclear bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki
Enemies here.
would be considered immoral. However, if you look at what we had just gone through with Germany and what the possibilities that we were risking of more lives being lost, I think it was absolutely 100% justifiable to drop those bombs
But
to prevent
the only thing
further
that I have
loss
to
of
say to-
American lives.
And we had just invaded Okinawa right before, and thousands of American lives were lost in that battle. Even, even more so Japanese.
And
the
also
only thing I could,
the way that
yeah.
they had wrecked our navy in Hawaii
Harbor.
too.
Pearl Harbor.
They wrecked us. I mean, wrecked us in Hawaii.
And the only other option on the table was a full invasion of Japan, which they feared thousands more American lives being lost.
And my teacher taught me something about there was actually a Japanese diplomat in America shortly before saying that they didn't want war with us. And then Pearl Harbor happened a couple days later. We watched a documentary on it. So,
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah, but again,
Moral
hindsight is
society.
always 2020. Hindsight
No, but
will
that's
always
what I
be
mean.
2020.
was it moral for them to do what they did to us first? So, I mean,
well, I
it
think
was
we
a
can all
morally
agree
gray
that,
war.
yeah, what Japan did like to us in Pearl Harbor was awful. It was definitely not moral. But the only thing I have to say about dropping the atomic bombs was the war was basically over. All the other countries had surrendered except for Japan. So I'm thinking, did the US do it more for revenge for their attack on us, or did they actually do it to end the war
I
once
believe
and
they,
for all?
I believe they just want to bring the Cold War to a quick end. That's why they did.
Why
Why
they-
hadn't? I mean, here's a question:
Yes.
is why hadn't Japan surrendered?
You ask me.
Well, Japan was willing to fight to the death.
I mean, even
So
after
that-
they dropped the first bomb, they issued an ultimatum, surrender or this will happen again, and they said no way, and so they had to drop the second bomb. So
Come out and face me. I have big guns for you.
Attackers incoming in 30
And then comes the fact that
I'll be
Japan's attack on us it was a strike on a military base while ours was on a civilian population.
and that's the worst thing about the bombs is they attack more civilian population.
Right. So that's another theme we can touch on for this ethicalness.
2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective
Well,
A.
nuclear weapons are always going. I mean, the effect radius of of the weapons at the time certainly isn't as large as our impact of weapons that we carry today in our arsenal. However,
Exactly.
even still then, you know, the effects of a weapon, even back then, was still pretty large.
I have to say I don't believe it was ethical, but I believe it was necessary. What's
Exactly.
necessary
That's
isn't
my
always
feeling
what's
on it.
ethical.
Back in the fight.
War in general, you can argue, is unethical.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh yeah, definitely.
You got an opinion,
I
Gunner?
mean, just
my
like it.
opinion.
It's something I have trouble wrapping my head around.
Well, was it
I
ethical
can't
to
say
you,
that
or-
it's 100% ethical. I can't ever say that, but
I do think at the time the scientists, they didn't know what they created at the time, what their weapon would turn into, as far as what
Well,
what
they
we have
said they
today.
didn't.
Look
now.
at the testing that they did. They had
I
Yeah,
mean,
they did a
the
whole
test-
bunch of testing.
the
even for the-
human, you know, having our own soldiers out on the field when they're testing this stuff.
Yeah, to test what the damage it can do. That's not even ethical. But
When they did the test in Nevada, the scientists actually, I bet you could say the bombs far exceeded the expectations of what the damage, what they could do.
You know, I think that the other thing that's kind of ironic is we're playing a war game while we're having
I
this
know.
discussion.
I was gonna say that too.
Is this ethical or not?
Guys, do you think it's ethical for them to target a Mercy who's not fighting?
Mercy's kind of a non-combatant, and they're targeting her. What the hell?
Yeah.
That's unethical.
Reinhardt top left.
That's like bombing hospitals during a war.
Think you could save?
Or churches.
Yeah.
Or churches. So, attacking Mercy's was probably a hospital or a church. Not
I
okay.
see him.
So, Hilo, ultimately, what do you think? Was it moral or was it immoral?
I think I agree with you guys. I think that it was definitely immoral, but it was necessary in order to win the war.
You know, they was actually considering a full invasion of Japan, and I think that they wanted to bring the war to
Well, you know,
a swift
let's
end without.
let me challenge that a little bit just to
Okay.
get you guys to think this through. You know, can you always say that violence, you know, in war is immoral? Because sometimes in order to bring violence to an end, it requires an act like that to bring, you know, the potential.
But then
Well,
wouldn't that
I-
kind of make us hypocrites and just as bad as the people who started the
I mean-
violence?
At the same time, you're talking about war
Time?
itself, which is itself is a very bad
One person,
thing.
one person killing another person can always be seen as unethical, in my opinion, even if it's during war. So, I mean, I believe war is sucks and it shouldn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't know that I can agree with that.
I wish
Sometimes,
everybody
I
could
mean,
get
you know,
along
if
and
I'm gonna
everybody
if I'm
accepts
gonna
everybody
protect my
first.
family, I don't think it's unethical for me to use deadly force to protect
No.
someone.
Gaz is right.
And that's what, you know, that's what you're saying by saying that, you know, making a wartime decision, you're trying to attach morality to it. And
Well, that was the
I think
question.
that's
Is it
difficult. I think
moral?
that's difficult to do.
But the morality comes in because we attacked the civilian population, not any military base.
Well, you know, Germans bombed London, and hundreds of
And
civilians was killed during the bombing of London.
Yeah, but
My
that was
answer to you
completely
guys
war.
is if nobody fought, if nobody was aggressive, violent, and there was no war. That's my dream. That's what I wish would happen.
That'd be a perfect word, and we don't live in a perfect world.
I know, but I could strive to make it perfect in my own life. If everybody did a little bit, it might go a long way. That's what ethics are to me. You try to always do better.
Well, if you want a prime example of that, what's just going on in the news right now, all these shootings and stuff. You know, it's a prime example.
I mean, if you're being attacked, you should definitely be able to defend yourself. That's not immoral at all, defending yourself.
No.
Right, but all right. So here's another challenging question, though. When you have, you know, and even in our country, we had civilians in our country supporting the war effort. Our civilians were all, you know, we had factories, we had food being grown. You know, our whole population was focused on the war effort, as I'm sure theirs was.
Yeah.
So
they believe they're
civilians,
right, just like we believe we're right.
You know, just as much as actual soldiers are, you know, in that kind of war, in a world war effort. You know, the current conflicts we're in right now, maybe not so much.
No.
But in that conflict,
World War II,
no.
In that conflict, you know, our entire civilian population, people here were rationing steel and not just fuel.
The whole country basically was behind the war.
And so
most of our vegetables went over there.
So when does it become okay? You know, if you're going to say, all right, well, it's never okay to attack a civilian target. Is there a point at which it is okay when you're dealing with a war effort like that one? Mm-hmm. That
you know, you got to bomb factories, and factories are in cities. You know, they're not isolated out in the middle of the country. They're not.
But then you can look at a incident like the My Lai massacre and like use the same defense. Like in Vietnam, we attacked a completely peaceful village and basically murdered all the residents there. And the defense for it is that we were at a time of war, even though they weren't fighting, which I think is completely ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. It's hard to say.
That's why it's hard to
impossible.
attach. It's really hard to attach morality to wartime decisions. It's not as black and white as we want to believe it is.
Right.
On either side. And specifically, the morality of it is not black and white. And that's why, I mean, I agree with you, Hilo. You know, that it would be nice to be able to say, I don't agree with, you know, it was an immoral decision, but a necessary decision. I don't even know that I could say it was absolutely an immoral decision. I'm just grateful that I wasn't president and that I didn't have to, that I, you know, I'm grateful I didn't have to make the decision.
Right, yeah.
Well, I believe the president even said, may God forgive me for this. He believes it was wrong, but he saw no other way to end the war. So, I mean, it's a hard thing to attach morality to war in general. Not just that war or that bombing, but...
I think of what they actually created was far worse than dropping the bomb on Japan to me.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? Even though the two bombs, even though both bombs are only to this day the only two bombs have been used in anger against one another, but it's still those weapons, you know, they created. You know.
Because now we know we can make things that are so much more powerful that could potentially do even more damage than
absolutely.
this huge
Our nuclear
thing
weapons today, don't just carry one warhead; they carry multiple warheads that split off from the rocket.
You know, all it takes now is a Russian submarine or whoever country submarine to pop up off our coast and just launch a missile without even one knowing.
And you gotta remember about ethicality
Tracer behind
too.
you forever.
I mean, well, everybody believed in the war on both sides, so to them, even us defending ourselves was unethical because they believed 100% what they were doing was right.
Back to the drawing board.
So, ethics is just hard in general. Can't kill this tracer. We're talking about war. I'm upset because I can't kill the damn tracer. That's sad.
So, how do you
My sleeves. I foresee great things.
how do you want to wrap this up, Hilo? With your final thoughts.
Well, I think what was said today was,
Play
I think,
of the game.
pretty much is a great way to look at it. I mean, I think we all pretty much agree that it was necessary. But I think where it gets all gray is whether it was, you know, moral or not. And like you said, Kez, I think we can't really put a label on it because it's not as black and white as we make it out to be. And I that's just how the world is, I guess. It's just not black and white.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Well, good
By the
topic,
way,
Hilo.
Motorcycling got 4 golds that match, by the way. They crushed it. They crushed it.
Well, I think you picked a good topic, Hilo, and I wish you the best on your paper and hope everything goes well for you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good luck, man.
Good luck, dude.